Welcome back, Keepers of the Flame. Okay, I'm just checking in today. Got finished with my morning meetings, and oh my goodness, I spent so much time in my meetings. Okay, so today let's maybe contemplate a few things. Cause today, the 16th, this is like a really good day to self-care, self-regulate, because it's going to be a little bit racky on the emotional side. The emotional current's going to be up and down today, especially if you're digesting the... Okay? So be kind, be gentle, be patient. Fierce self-compassion right now. So here's one thing. What actually raises your frequency... Sorry, I live in my clothes, darling. Um, what raises your frequency up is not, the overwhelming sensation of joy, the overwhelming sensation of bliss, all those different mechanisms. What actually brings in the vibrational shift is radical self-love, radical self-acceptance, and fierce compassion for yourself first. And that doesn't, I talked a little bit about it in another previous video, but it has nothing to do with self-care. People get that really confused. Maintaining good health is, breath work, sauna, is the good the foot soak. The good foot soak. That's all health maintenance. Yes, it's good for our mental system, of course. That's for your health. What are you doing to bring yourself into a state of pure love? And it has nothing to do with googly ooglies. It is, you know what? I'm having like this little like tingle on my web of like way back in the day I did some stupid blah 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 blah. Okay, that's still on your web. That's pulling on your energy. Okay, radical self-compassion and acceptance and love is saying, okay, I did do that thing. I did mistake. I did misstep. I did miss whatever the fuck it was. Okay, missed the mark. So when you can come into a different state of being and say, okay, I'm going to show myself radical grace, radical compassion, radical love and acceptance. All these different modalities of existing can come into play once you take the guilt and the shame and the blame and whatever else off of it and say, I take responsibility for my portion of this. I don't divvy it out to anybody else. I take this as a choice that I made, and it did not go well. For every action, there's a consequence, okay? I look the full consequences in the face and I say, okay, not only did I cause this, I need to apologize for it. If you don't have access to that, look into the Ho'oponopono. I apologize. Don't use I'm sorry. We have really screwed the community over that way. Do not use I'm sorry. I apologize. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Or however, whichever order, it doesn't matter. Repeat that, okay? To yourself in the mirror first. Forgive yourself. Then start forgiving your others. If you don't start with self first, if you don't get that anchored in self first, then I can give the best me, the most optimal me, the most fulfilled me, the most whatever me, once I have allowed myself to be filled. We are going to have to start accepting that in the past we have been giving from lack. We've been giving from depletion. We've been giving from a completely empty cup. And this is the result of it. Because we weren't allowed access to our bodies, we weren't allowed to fill our cup. Radical self-compassion, radical self-forgiveness, radical releasing of the guilt, shame that's directly tied to manipulation. There's two ways you know for certain you're being manipulated. One, you can't see where your way forward. If somebody blows mist and fog in your pathway forward, they are attempting to control and manipulate you. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, okay? Anytime you find yourself in a fog, not knowing, you are being coerced, controlled, manipulated. Sometimes we put ourselves in a fog by not making choices, or making choices that we're like a little iffy about, or like juggling choices, or wait, you know. And that's the other thing too, is a lot of us are kind of in this cocoon thing, and we're doing the work that we can do, but making the concrete choice, we're kind of seeing around the corner, but we want the full view before we jump in a direction, right? So I'm not saying like you need to do the thing right now, you need to make the choice right now. It is for a purpose. Sometimes you just honor the fog and be like, all right, how do I feel through this? What other senses can I use to get myself through this system that's been presented to me? What other senses, what other traces do I have to find myself exploring in this fog? Where do I have access to the truth? Where do I have access to the knowledge? How does this little trail of whatever, you know, they say that weird thing, follow the money. How's this trail playing out? Where is this going? Who is this attached to? How is it playing out in the community? Are they doing good? Are they corrupt? Blah, 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 blah. So when you're put in a fog, get into your own resources. Your environment, your relationship to yourself and your body, your relationship to those around you, your relationship to money, your relationship to your any investment, whether it be your garden, your relationship to your garden. What about your relationship to spiritual circles, communities, churches, whatever? What's your relationship with that? How is it working? Is it functioning in the community? How did you want to change it? All these different things. When you're in a fog, you can look at all these different access points to your power. All the different access points to your power. So when you're in a fog, I don't really know how to think, feel, or anything about this. Okay, bring it back down. Where are my resources? Where can I play on this web that's been for a second? Okay, because sometimes life will just do that to you. Be like, okay, you're not into the nit and gritty of the situation, so I need you to come back, and so I'm gonna cloud you a little bit over here, so you redirect something over here, or you go down here, or you go in here, or you all these different modalities. So the second way you're being manipulated in this paradigm is guilt and shame. You notice you don't feel any guilt and shame? You notice who doesn't feel any guilt and shame. Yeah, but that makes them evil. No, it doesn't. It doesn't make them evil. They're numb from the brain down. Makes them choose certain actions that have particular consequences. Harm or heal. Okay, if we take all the crap labels off of it and just go choices, consequences, we stop screaming about the legalities, the morality, the whatever is blah, 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 blah. Choices were made, consequences were had. Now, I know that sounds really pissy, and I know I probably triggered a bunch of you, but what I am telling you right now, if we, and I don't believe she was in the wrong. that guy's legs were free and clear. He was literally leaning on the vehicle. Leaning on it with his hand, leaning on the vehicle as it was going this way. And I think I brought this up the other day. How the hell do you get nailed with a vehicle and still hit a target that this, excuse me? Okay, so no, not that part. Choices, consequences, okay? The authority in this situation is not being held accountable at all, which is completely ass backwards. The authority is to have all of the responsibility. When you are a leader in your community, when you're the one holding the deadly weapon, you're responsible. Other shootings have occurred that didn't result in death. Okay? Nope. But so what we're doing also has choices and consequences, right? So if we get into that, because when we've been trained in this particular scenario that the authority doesn't have to take responsibility. And that's what they're aiming at. That's what they want you to believe. So when they do these horrible things, it's our fault. It's our fault. We weren't trained to listen and follow directions, when in actuality they told her to leave and she ushered a few people ahead of her, and then she was gonna leave. And it's okay, I'm not mad at you, bro, which means they did something really mean to her. They were rude to her. Why did she have to forgive him? See what I'm saying? Okay. So, that part aside, when we know that there's choices and consequences for those choices, right? Now, what is the government in this scenario wants you to believe? Judge, jury, executioner, and a man that's had how much training? Okay. In some cases, it's 4 weeks of online training, because AI put a weird thing in their system where if you put the word officer on your register, so if you said I want to be an ICE officer and you have no experience in this field at all, I'm talking less than a freaking mall guard, they immediately shuffled you over to the 4-week online course rather than the 8-week in-person course. 8 weeks of training. Is running rampant with guns. A woman with an anti-social, or not anti-social, but an anti-ICE social media account applied for ICE. She knew she wasn't going to pass the piss test. But she did it anyway because she's like, I'm just going to, because it's freaking hilarious. She got a job offer. Couldn't pass. She knew she wasn't going to pass the piss test. She's like, there's no fucking way. Anyway, they gave her the job. They offered her the position. She didn't take it, obviously, but that's what I'm saying. They don't screen for anything. I know I shouldn't be laughing, but ooh, okay. So, and this is public knowledge. No, I think this is it. We've known that for a hot minute. We've known that more than a hot minute, but I think I can't tell you what channel it was, but I think some major news outlet covered it. And don't ask me which one it was, but I'm pretty sure. Well, at least the AI running the screening for the officer part in the... Okay, so let's go back to the guilt and shame. Okay, so the people that are doing what they're doing right now to terrorize people, don't feel the guilt and shame. It does not register for them because they honestly believe, okay, here's where we got to get really clear about this. We are not convincing them of anything being wrong, much less, everything that happens when it comes to the harm of human beings. We're not going to convince them of that. They honestly believe that people out there obstructing the ICE officers from doing their jobs. They honestly believe that. They truly believe that ICE officers are getting some sort of terroristic threat off of our streets. Some drug lord doing this, that, and the other thing. Meanwhile, the government people in office, who are, by the way, not helping the Minnesota people, the people in the governmental local state office are the ones siphoning and parasiting the billions out of their freaking paychecks and pockets and giving it over to Saudi Arabia. Okay, so the actual criminals are not being held accountable. That's the whole fucking point. We are a psychopathic system that is going to parasite the ever-living daylights out of you. And if you dare, to... We're just gonna, They don't see humans. None of them. If they are on any sort of platform thing in any way, shape, or form that, like, good, I'm glad she was obstructed. Okay, don't interact with those people under any circumstances. There's no human there, okay? They're numb from the brain down, and they chose to get that way. And I'm not saying they can't be revived, or that they're soulless, or they're NPCs. I'm saying they chose to numb out. They chose to completely shut their system down, and they do not see human. They don't see human. And here's that's a suicidal red flag. No human. Okay. They're in the transition period of the suicide to homicide. Okay. That's how the brain works. So when suicide isn't an option and you are not getting any relief and you have no function in society and you are lonely and you do not have another modality of existing in the world. So this is the knob that gets turned. This is why, red pill was always gonna come to this. Okay, it's an isolation tactic. Okay. Matrix means womb. Okay. So we can do another thing on that another day. We'll do another thing on that another day. So control and through guilt and shame only works for those people who have empathy. And it's not about any sort of... Somebody coming door to door. Yep. Yeah. So, hey Yoda. It's just a door-to-door salesman. Maybe I need to demonstrate this for you. This is how you respond. Okay. Ta-da. Yoda. All done. Who'd it be? Who's a good boy? Tis him all up. Okay. See? Demonstration over. Okay. That's how you handle it. Yeah. They can't legally force you to talk to them or answer the door or roll the window down. Do not roll the window down. Through a smoke bomb or tear gas into a minivan with children in it and the infant that I think was 4 months old in critical condition. Do not open your window for these people. Do not open your door. Do not speak to them. Don't do it. Okay? Don't do it. It doesn't matter what you say anymore. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter. too many people that are U.S. citizens that for all these people to not have their ID on them is nobody drives like that in Minnesota. Nobody leaves home without their fucking ID and their insurance card. Nobody does that. Nobody does that in any state that requires insurance on any fucking country, or whatever the hell it is. If you need to have papers where you're going, see how they installed that? See why Hitler was like, oh, that's a little extreme, kids. So we don't leave in the US of A, everywhere I've been, at least, it's, you don't leave without your papers. You don't leave without insurance and license. Now, it depends state to state if you are legally required to have insurance. It just depends on where you are. Okay. So, I looked it up. And there's another lady, she's a lawyer in Minnesota. And she said that absolutely we can charge ICE. If you come here and break the law, we'll charge you. Quote, direct quote from, if I can remember her name. If you come here and break the law, we will charge you. That's what she said. And she's a lawyer. So, and the statute of limitations doesn't run out. So I don't get why they're saying what they're saying in the White House. She goes, if they want to argue for the I word, impunity, they have to argue that in court because there's no law in the books that states that. This is why so many people from the government said, do not under any circumstances follow illegal orders. I'm trying not to have compassion for the people that were trained by social media, probably government paid shows, to feed you red pill content and then make you, install the switch that went from red pill to Agent Smith, and now here we are. It's hard not to be like, oh my freaking God. Okay? Again, doesn't at all absolve them of their sheer fuckery. It doesn't. In no way, shape, or form. It's not a, oh, you poor baby. It's a, oh my freaking God. Okay? And again, taking personal responsibility. If it's not yours, you didn't do it, you didn't subscribe to it, you didn't uplift the narrative, you didn't tell them to get on the platform, you didn't, whatever the hell it was, right? Then it's not yours. It's theirs all the freaking way. That's what I'm saying. It's like, we have this weird thing where we want to, especially white women. You're going to carry all the responsibility for my terrible action. Absolutely not. And that's probably why they so pissed off right now. But when we come into the state of sovereignty, autonomy, and whatever else, we can begin to look back at the patterns and be like, ooh, that's how we got here. Ooh, let's maybe not do that in the future. Okay. And the difficult aspect of that is like there are almost zero white male, any sort of good representations of decent, humane function. Because the vast majority of those white males are shaming women for not staying the fuck home, slaving the fuck away, and shutting the fuck up. And that's, there's a lot of women that follow Jordan Peterson. But what he said is so truthful. Till that rubber meets the road, sugar plum. till that rubber meets the road. That's the difficult pill to swallow. But it sounds so pretty, and I like fairy tales, and I like Disney. Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not also paid by the government to push a narrative. Again, slave master narrative. Okay, rather than, bringing women into this obviously new stage that we have to be in right now because we're finished, being the number one on the human slaughter slab when it comes to the number one predator on the planet, which is the male population, unfortunately. So, and he conveniently ignores that. You don't know why they picked the bear. Oh, okay. Don't look at the numbers. Don't do that. I love it when educated people are like, I don't know. Like, there's numbers of people being killed by bears, and there's number about people being killed by humans. So, and we have this weird narrative that there's supposed to be male dominance, and that there's supposed to be male violence. Nope. That's installed. You have to install that. And the way you install that is you remove rights. You remove the right to your own freaking society. You're not allowed to exist in this way. You're not allowed to have that. What are you even feeling for? How did you even the fuck? All of these things are removed from their environment. All these resources that they could have, fucked off. Okay. And that goes the same for everybody. For as much as they don't have access to in their own selves, we were allowed even less than that because that's the only thing that trickles down. Okay? It's the only thing that trickles down in the system. So as much as they had taken away from them, they made sure we had less. And then we made sure the person that was underneath us had less. And then the person that was underneath that person made sure that person had less. You see how, you see what's happening? Okay? This is where we're given from a place of complete and utter depletion. Complete and utter depletion. So when we're giving from depleted places, we're going to get ourselves in depleted spaces. Okay? And this is where parasites come in. I use that word a lot when I, refer to the robber barons. It's their parasites. Because they're taking far, far more than what they are producing. And often what they are producing for us is actually toxic. You look at, lawn chemicals, soap for your skin, hair, face, whatever. Toxic. Laundry detergent, toxic. The clothes, toxic. Some of the clothes, that's why I love this sweatshirt, because it's all nice, yummy wool. But the toxicness ties into the depletion. So it's also a parasite because it's, again, taking away your vital life force energies. Okay? It's one of those little pluggies from the Matrix, okay? Then you've got like dish soap, and then you've got, furniture coating, and you've got all these toxins, okay? So, and then you get the food that's toxified and whatever else. So the obscene amount of parasitic institutions and structures that have been put in place is pretty pervasive. And if you hear people talking about inflammation is the number one disease, yeah, that's a parasite, friends. That's where the inflammation comes in. A wound dug in there, yeah, the tissue's gonna swell. I hear ya, but this is as above, so below, as within, so without, blah 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 blah. You're wondering what's up? It's called a black hole. That's the parasite, called black hole. We don't know what it is. We can't look at it. Mmm. Ooh. Yeah. And that's the thing, it's the scientific community. How the fuck are they not on this? Because it's run by who? Operation Paperclip folk. Upa Bays. See how this works? So everything is on the web. It's always interconnected, and everything is a reflection of itself. It's just a recognition of the pattern. It's a pattern recognition, and it's all pervasive. That's, you know, why Sasha is so upsetting, because it's like we knew that, we understood that. It's just nobody said it out loud. Nobody wanted to talk about that. Nobody wanted to hear about that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. And so this is accumulating knowledge and turning it into wisdom, because we definitely are starting to see that the government in Minnesota is not gonna, like, Tim Walz gave a speech, on your own, minis. And I was like, well, that's nice. In a way it is, because now Minnesota has to decide just how much they want to fund their own parasites and their own abusers. And that's a real thing to have to look at. How much do you want to give to this system that's keeping you enslaved and oppressed and abused? That's a real question to sit with. Okay, and we as Americans can support that by also pinching the billionaires and saying, you know what, not here. You're not parasiting here anymore. You don't like it? Go cry to Papa. You, Mau Mau. Go cry. Because this ain't it for the American people. Okay, we either repeat or we're like, yeah, bye. And lip service isn't going to cut it anymore. And the men are coming to save us. And we know that. Okay? So, non-violently, just kink the hose. You're like, nope. All finished. Or did you want to come to negotiations? Yeah, we'll think about it. Super easy. It's just, you gotta have the gumption. You gotta have the balls. And how many people need to be unalive so your credit score isn't so important anymore? What's the body count on your credit score? How about that? There's a good question to ask. I know, it's a B. I hear you. I had to go through it. But you can do it. I love you. Keep your flame.